Good afternoon, my dear students. We are discussing 2 days newspapers today. First of all, I seek your apology for I seek your okay. I am very sorry that I couldn't present myself yesterday with the newspaper analysis, but those newspapers will be covered today, and tomorrow also I shall cover 2 more newspapers. Yesterday the budget was presented, and the budget document is important for all the examinees for the next 1 year. So the budget newspaper you please keep with yourself, read it many a time you should read, and you should make your own notes. Of course, I shall give my notes on budget. That is very important. As I told you earlier, it has got 1 year validity, very important. So please make sure that you keep the budget newspaper with you. The February 2, Hindu dated February 2, the budget. Today's newspaper will carry the budget information which was presented, yesterday. So the February 2 newspaper you should keep as a treasure for 1 year. So I shall start with my analysis of the day. January 30, Economic Survey predicts 11% growth next fiscal. Economic Survey is presented in front of the Parliament, which gives an account of how the economy performed in the previous year and what are the expectations for the upcoming year. It is presented in front of the Parliament. So Economic Survey is also an important document as regards the economy is concerned, of course as regards your exams are concerned. The first question is given to you. It is regarding the Economic Survey. Pick out among the following the most correct information regarding the Economic Survey that was tabled before the Parliament recently. The Indian economy will contract by 7.7% in the current fiscal. The Indian economy will grow at 11% during 2021-22. India's 8 core sectors contracted 1.3%, with electricity and coal the only 2 sectors recording positive growth. India's estimated GDP growth in financial year 2020-22 is the highest among the economies picked by IMF, not IMFE. It is a mistake, IMF. IMF. In actual terms, India's GDP was 145.7 lakh crore. This is the E information. I am sorry for the typo. The E information is that in actual terms India's GDP in the financial year was 145.7 lakh crore. Aishwarya, Anulakshmi and Anakha say everything is correct, all the above are correct. Let more responses come. Indian economy will contract by, all the above is correct. Indian economy will contract by 7.7%, meaning when compared to the previous year, in the previous year if the GDP was 100, this year it will be only 92.3. That is what is meant by contracting by 7.7%. Next year, meaning the year starting with 2021 April 1 to 2022 March 31, the financial year, the economy will grow by 11%. That is what we anticipate. That is what the government says. It is going to be a V-shaped growth, meaning during the COVID time it declined and now it is a time to grow back. So we will make a V-shaped economic growth. That is what the government predicts, from a contraction of 7.7% current fiscal to 11% next year. The core sector forms the cement, electricity, coal, hydrocarbons, crude oil, these are all called agriculture, these are all fertilizers, these are all called the core sectors. Only 2 sectors, not agriculture, fertilizer, 8 core sectors that contracted by 1.3%, but electricity and coal, the only 2 sectors that recorded positive growth. IMF's estimated, the India's estimated GDP growth in FY 2020 is highest among the economies picked by IMF. Sorry, IMF says that among the larger economies, Indian economy will grow fastest. There are plenty of advantages for us. Of course, Chinese economy is also doing good, but economies realize that it will be easier to trade with democracies. Unpredictabilities can be avoided if you do trade with democracies. So these are all the new thoughts in the world economy, and these are all maybe counterproductive for China. The world have learned to live without China during the COVID times. So these are all opportunities for a big country with advantageous demography like that of India. In actual terms, India's GDP in 2020 was 145.7 lakh crore. All the above are correct. I am moving on to the next question. The following question is again based on economic survey. On the healthcare front, economic survey says the following except: India has one of the highest level of out-of-the-pocket expenditures, OOPE, contributing directly to the high incidence of catastrophic expenditures and poverty. Economic survey suggested an increase in public spending from 1% to 2.5 to 3% of GDP as envisaged in National Health Policy 2017. The proposed spending in healthcare is ensured can decrease OOPE from 65% to 30% of overall healthcare spend. About 65% of the deaths in India are now caused by non-communicable diseases. All the options are correct. What's your choice? What's your pick? Among these, which is wrong? That's a question. Yes. Yes, let the responses come. Okay, the answer is all the options are correct. All the options are correct is the, listen, what is this OOPE? Out of the pocket expenditure. Listen, there are 2 categories of people who are forced to spend on healthcare from their own pocket and who are covered by any kind of insurance. This OOPE is highly damaging, meaning something happens to some medical urgency comes to the family or a person, then he has to spend money from his own pocket. Thanks to the hike in medical cost, OOPE will have catastrophic expenditures and it will lead to catastrophic expenditures and poverty. So there are 2 options. One, either increase the penetration of medical insurance, or government has to increase spending in public healthcare systems from 1% to 2.5 to 3% is the requirement of spending. That much part of the GDP must be spent on making public sector healthcare infrastructure. That will function as a cushion. We know what has happened to Kerala during the COVID times. Thanks to Kerala having excellent public sector, government sector, medical infrastructure, the public need not spend too much of money. Even those people who could not afford could get medical help. But we read the news in many Western countries and even United States of America, where we thought everything was correct. The public investment in medical infrastructure was minimum, so people did not get medical assistance at the time of need. So this could be an eye opener to governments like India, where huge people are living with a meager income. So the government spending in healthcare must be increased. The proposed spending in healthcare is ensured. If that is ensured, it can decrease OP from 65 to 30% of overall healthcare spend. Meaning, as envisaged in the national healthcare policy, if the government increases investment in public healthcare infrastructure from 1% of GDP to 2.5 to 3%, then OP can be reduced from 65 to 30%. About 65% of the death in India are caused by non-communicable diseases. That is also an alarming thing. So heart issues, kidney issues, all these things are non-communicable diseases. Our answer is all the 5 are correct. Economic survey predicts 11% growth in the next fiscal. The recovery story from being one of the fastest contracting economies in 2021, economic survey estimates that India is going to be one of the rapidest growing economies in financial year 2022. V-shaped growth is what I have already explained. During the lockdown time, the economy touched another, and now it is going to the pinnacle using we are estimating a kind of a V-shaped recovery. In absolute terms, by 2022, Indian economy will be 149.2 lakh crore, growing at 11%. Okay, so healthcare infrastructure must be agile, says the economic survey. We have just discussed it, and the contraction was 7.7% this year. This is only the front page. In the inner pages you can have plenty of information regarding the economic survey. Government tightens oversight on funds received by NGOs. It is to stop money laundering that government is tightening its grip over receipt of international money, foreign money by NGOs in India. The Union Home Ministry has laid down a charter for banks which says that donations received by Indian rupees by NGOs and associations from any foreign source, even if that source is located in India, at the time of such donation should be treated as foreign contribution. The idea is this: suppose an NGO in India receives donation from a foreign agency which is now located in India, that donation must be treated as a foreign donation. Meaning an Indian NGO is receiving money from a person or an agency who has got a resident account. Earlier on, such money was not treated as a foreign contribution. Now onwards, even that money will be considered a foreign contribution. As per the existing rules, all banks have to report to the central government within 48 hours the receipt of utilization of any foreign contribution by any NGO association. But in that, the foreign or if the donor was located within India, his bank account was located within India, that need not be recorded. But now, thanks to it being treated as a foreign contribution, even such contributions that are received from within India must be reported within 48 hours to the government. So, government is really tightening its grip over foreign contribution received by NGOs in India. In search of malice, listen, we know that government has and some government has registered FIR against the Congress MP Shashi Tharoor and a few journalists. Hindu says that FIR against journalists for incorrect accounts are abuse of law with intent to intimidate. The registration of cases against some senior journalists and Congress MP Shashi Tharoor for their misleading, that is written under the quote, social media posts on the Republic Day violence during the farmers' protest in Delhi by UP and MP police is an instance of fishing of malice where there is none. Fishing of malice where there is none. The Gautama Buddha Nagar police have clearly gone overboard in the response to tweets that reflected an early and factually incorrect piece of information that a farmer who had died during the tractor rally in Delhi had fallen to a police bullet. Later reports said he had died when the tractor overturned during the protests. The police have invoked the offences of sedition, conspiracy. Look, sedition, conspiracy, promotion of enmity between different sections and breach of harmony between groups. Besides, they have sought to portray it as a threat to national security. Listen, threat to national security and all these things, the tougher provisions of laws are frequently used, liberally used by the police these days and attempt to investigate violence. Similar FIRs has been filed on the basis of a complaint in Bhopal, but invokes only sections relating to promotion of enmity and ill will. So, tougher laws are used very liberally and freely by the police, and that is what is criticized by the Hindu daily through its editorial. Please read. Online memorial to COVID-19 victims going live today. It is an attempt to allow people across the country to grieve and possibly even heal together, says NGO volunteer. Photographs, obituaries and blogs written by relatives or friends of COVID-19 victims. An online national memorial conceived for those who died of COVID-19 across the country goes live on Saturday, an initiative by a Kolkata-based NGO comprising medical fraternity and others. COVID-19 snatched the opportunity for families to bid a traditional goodbye to their loved ones who they lost to the virus. So, this unique venture is an attempt to allow people across the country to grieve and possibly even heal together. And COVID Care Network CNN. COVID Care Network CNN, an NGO led by a group of doctors spearheading the initiative. So, an online memorial will be established. So, people who have lost their were kith and kin due to COVID attack could post their blogs, photographs, etc. at the memorial. Okay. India's ratings don't reflect economy's fundamentals, says Chief Economic Advisor Krishnamurthy Subramaniam. We know that many international credit rating agencies did not show much mercy to India. They downgraded India's credit rating, and now the government stand is that we need not bother too much about credit rating, because these credit rating agencies have not got into the fundamental strength of Indian economy. Indian economy is fundamentally strong. So, a few years of few months of lockdown and all will not affect Indian economy. Indian economy will bounce back. Our fundamentals are strong. That is what the official version. So, our credit rating, even though rating by agencies, they go mostly by technicalities and have downgraded India's rating. The investors need not worry. Mind you, the issue is that when the rating comes down, when the rating by prominent credit rating agencies come down for a country, the investors may become doubtful whether to invest in India. So, the government says that you need not worry too much about credit rating, because many of the credit rating agencies have not given value to the fundamental strengths of the economy, but they have just gone by technicalities. So, that is the government version. Please read. This is the idea of this write up. The third question is given to you. The following question is based on economic survey that was tabled before Parliament. The indigenous content in procurement by armed forces stand at. The idea is this: when the Indian armed forces purchase rupees 100 worth arms, how much is purchased from within India? The balance is imported. So, the Indian Army, Indian Navy and the Air Force, the armed forces, have been trying to indigenize maximum under the Make in India Atmanirbhar project. So, the indigenous content in capital expenditure is increasing. That is a great sign, so that we can save our valuable forex, and of course can create employment within India. That will result in more research and development in this area. Very important question. Your answer is correct. It is 74.56%. 74.56% is the indigenous content of capital expenditure by the armed forces. Very important question. Capital budget allocated for defense completely utilized since 2016-17. Generally what happens is that the spending, the money that is allocated to the ministries may go unspent and the money will be returned. So, it is 100% utilized. That is what the report says. The allocated capital budget for defense has been fully utilized since 2016-17. One of the reasons could be the urgent purchase of materials by the army in the wake of the turbulent times in the eastern part of India's border. We know that for the past 2 years the Indian and Chinese army have been facing each other on the border, and there is turbulent situations prevail, and that could be one of the reasons why the armed forces went for urgent purchases of capital, and hence the 100% utilization of capital expenditure, allocation rather. The fourth question is given to you now. Economic survey says that the Food Corporation of India's economic cost of buying and distributing food grains has increased over the years. For wheat and rice, the figures are respectively dash and dash. Quickly answer. Aishwarya says it is a fourth. Increase ration shop prices of rice and wheat. The centre must increase the price of wheat, which 80 crore poor people pay for subsidized rice and wheat at ration shops to trim the bulging food subsidy bill, the economic survey commented. See, 27 rupee wheat is sold for 2 rupee, 37 rupee rice is sold for 1 rupee, and this subsidy is absorbed by the government, and the subsidy, food subsidy bill is going up. So the economic survey suggests that the central government must increase the price of subsidized wheat and rice that are sold through the ration shops. Core sector output shrank 1.3% in December. It contracted 1.3% in December. 8 sectors make the core sector. So only, we discussed that only coal and electricity increased the output, but all other sectors contracted, and on an average the total contraction was 1.3% of GDP. WHO too begins field work in Wuhan to trace virus origins. We know that the coronavirus originated in Wuhan, and the World Health Organization officials are in Wuhan now to trace the origin of the virus. China has been trying to block the WHO officials. Initially China said that the officials from WHO were welcome, but when actually they decided to visit Wuhan, they obstructed, but finally China agreed the officials to visit Wuhan. When the last virus outbreak took place, within 2 weeks the WHO was able to locate the origin of the virus, but the pandemic, which has affected millions and millions of people's lives and livelihood, it took more than a year now for more than a year now that the origin of the virus has not been located. So that is quite for this particular thing, WHO also received a lot of criticism. American President Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, criticized WHO, saying that they are showing too much of leniency towards China. Anyway, finally the World Health Organization experts are in China trying to locate the origin of the virus. Stock indices slide 1.3% on sustained selling. Economic survey failed to trigger a rebound in the markets, which slumped by more than 1% on sustained selling pressure. When too many people try to sell their shares, naturally the price of stocks will come down. Question number 5. As per the latest government reports, the proportion of households with healthcare insurance increased by -% for states that implemented PMJ, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Very, very important question. There are states that implemented PMJ and there are states that did not implement PMJ. The question says that the proportion of household insurance increased by -% in those states that implemented the scheme PMJ, Prime Minister's Jan Arogya Yojana. Yes, the answer is the fifth option, 54%. For those states that implemented PMJ, the proportion of households with insurance increased by 54%. I am proceeding. The same thing, please read health outcomes in PMJ states better, says the survey. These are all based on the economic survey. I am moving on to the next day's paper, January 31. Proposal to stay farm laws stand, Prime Minister Modi. The government recently said that the maximum, at max, what the government can do is to postpone the proposed bill, implementation of the proposed bill by 15 to 18 months against the farmers' demand for the complete repeal of the 3 laws. So the Prime Minister now says that proposal to postpone the implementation of the farm acts, 3 farm acts, controversial farm acts, by 1.5 years. Proposal to stay farm laws stands, says the Prime Minister. That is what exactly I said now. New COVID vaccine likely in June, says Serum Institute. Serum Institute, biotech, all are very popular names nowadays, because these are the institutes or organizations that supply COVID vaccine not just to India but to the whole world. So they have now joined with Novavax, an American company that produces Covovax. We know that India is the pharmaceutical hub of the world, pharmaceutical headquarters of the world. So Novavax, a vaccine produced by Covovax, a vaccine produced by Novavax, will be produced by Serum Institute and will be available from June 2021. So they are going to have 2 vaccines. One is Covishield, that they jointly do with Oxford University and AstraZeneca, and now from Novavax, an American company, their vaccine Covovax will also be produced by the Serum Institute. China is still largest source of critical imports for India. We know that the relationship between India and China have reached some sore points. We know about the eastern border troubles. So after that, India aggressively banned nearly 59 to 60 mobile applications, Chinese mobile applications, so applications with Chinese connections, and India is trying to protect its domestic market by trying to control imports from China. We know that even otherwise, thanks to COVID and all, imports are not that possible. So this article says that certain imports from China are still critical for Indian economy, because there are many of the goods that we use are of Chinese origin, and some of things are import substituted exports. So we have to depend more on continuously on Chinese imports. That is what the article says. CJA writes to government on High Court judges appointment. This was regarding the controversial judgment ruling by Justice Ganediwala, additional judge of the Bombay High Court, who interpreted the POSCO law in a very wrong manner, which attracted a lot of criticism. The judgment by Justice Ganediwala concluded that holding hands with a 5-year-old girl and unzipping the trousers did not amount to sexual assault under POSCO Act. This invited severe criticism from not just the legal fraternity, even from many activists. Now the Chief Justice of India wrote to the government withdrawing the collegium recommendation to appoint Justice P.V. Ganediwala as additional judge of Bombay High Court. That is it. So we know that the Supreme Court and High Court judges are appointed on the basis of the collegium recommendation. Now the collegium withdrew the recommendation. Government plans to ban Bitcoin, set up official digital currency. We know that Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. It is not banned in India. What is happening is that the Reserve Bank of India officially has given a strong advisory, not banned, but sent an advisory to people saying that investors who are investing in Bitcoins are investing at their own risk. It was only an advisory now. Now the government decides to ban Bitcoin. We know that some nations in the country, in the world, have already banned Bitcoins, but India has not, and many of the countries have not. People now use Bitcoin as an investment opportunity, but government of India plans to ban Bitcoin, and it plans to come out with its own digital currency. Rural uptick prompts Chola to focus on tractor finance. Chola Mandalam finance, it is a very local news. I have chosen this particular news to make you understand that the number of tractors sold shows that rural economy is doing good, or there are signs of coming back. The number of motorbikes sold, the number of tractors sold, these are all good indicators of the economy doing good. Joseph Biden government will build on the Quad NSA, National Security Advisor. Jake Sullivan, very important, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said that they will try to strengthen Quad. What is Quad? Quad means India, US, Japan and Australia. It is a quadrilateral international arrangement. It is called Quad. Quad is seen as a counterweight to China in Asia. After uproar, Myanmar Army placed down the coup rhetoric. A coup attempt is very much anticipated in Myanmar. We know that Myanmar went for elections recently. In the election, Aung San Suu Kyi, the leader of the National League for Democracy, won the election. She is a Nobel laureate, a Nobel Peace laureate, and she won the elections. Her party, the National League of Democracy, won the elections, and the army says that there has been big rigging in the election, and army did not accept the election verdict. Army demanded the government to probe the election rigging, which the government refused to. So now the Myanmar is facing a coup attempt, but the army says that no such coup is planned, military coup. The sixth question, the National Polio Immunization Day is observed on drops. Pulse Polio program launched. President Ramnath Kovind launched the Pulse Polio program 2021 by administering polio drops to children less than 5 years of age at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. National Polio Immunization Day, January 31, around 17 crore children less than 5 years of age will be given polio drops as part of the drive. So thank you very much, my dear students. Tomorrow is a very important day because we have to cover the budget. I may cover the budget separately because budget has to be covered separately, as it is the most important document which will have validity for almost a year. So I shall make my plans and come out. Sometimes I may separate the budget from the regular news analysis and will do it separately. Anyway, make sure that you read the papers and come prepared. We shall cover two newspapers, February 1 and February 2, tomorrow at the same time. At 3 o'clock today we have got another session of either math, English or reasoning. Make sure that you participate. Remain very much enthusiastic regarding the studies. Thank you very much. Have a good day.